The article, Writing for Their Lives, the Non-School Literacy of California's Urban African American Youth, appeared in the Journal of Negro Education in spring of 1996. In it, Jabari, Mahiri, and Soraya Soblo from the University of California, Berkeley, looked into the writing practices of urban African American youth, many of whom were not motivated to do normal school writing. What is interesting is that they found that many of these students, who were not willing to write in school, were often prolific writers in their own world after school. These students were, in my own words, often alienated by their school world, finding the academic writing far removed from and not relevant to their world. Mahiri and Soblo make the case that teachers should begin to include new definitions of literacy in the area of writing to encourage writing in school. Teachers should include the kinds of writing their students do in the real world of where they live. Mahiri and Soblo cite quite a bit of previous research on the topic on the first page of the article. One notable quote came from an author doing cross-cultural research. Street says, literacy is ultimately political. That little quote had quite a bit of pack to it and left me thinking and wondering if that were true. Isn't literacy just being able to read and write? What has that to do with politics? For that matter, what can I, as a teacher, do about politics? Then I thought about recent events here in the state of Michigan, with a state agenda that is huge and seems to be all about not paying for an education at all. If this trend continues, education will then become the privilege of a few wealthy, mostly white males. These are people who can afford to send their children to exclusive private schools while public education will continue to suffer. When mostly rich white males, either politicians or owners of large corporations, dominate government, then the assumptions about what is valued in education will be those of rich white males. That said, this still leaves the problem for teachers of urban schools of how to develop literacy among African American students who feel alienated by traditional school writing. I think this is also true of many other minorities and of low-income working-class white students as well. What Mahiri and Soblo seem to be suggesting through the authors and the previous research they were citing is that teachers should turn to what they call vernacular writing. That includes things like oral storytelling, diaries, letters, chat, perhaps rap music. It also includes looking at rhetorical devices common to African American literary language. Can a connection be made between the, quote, specific descriptions of knowledge structures taught in school as they relate to the knowledge structures constructed within a non-school social setting? What Mahiri and Soblo do is they worked with two teachers who were given the pseudonyms Ms. Brown and Ms. Parks, who would be willing to try working with African American students in a new way that would use their authentic writing, out-of-school writing, to examine literacy in a new context. Finding students willing to share their work was not easy. These students were leery of the system, and while they were unwilling or unmotivated to do traditional schoolwork, Mahiri and Soblo found that they were often prolific writers outside of the school context. They selected two students who were willing to share their poems, plays, and rap lyrics with them for the project. a girl named Keisha and a boy named Troy. Here is a poem by Keisha, Dreams. I have so many dreams to remember, so many moments to cherish. My life had no light until you, burning upon the sun. To kiss you is a dream come true, a moment to cherish. To have the pleasure of being around you is a blessing. When you simply speak, I am speechless. When you smile, I am paralyzed with life. There isn't a word in the world to express the way I feel for you, not one. But you are like the ocean that glimmers in the night, like the birds that cry in the morning. I wish I could hold you forever. But I dream you will stay with me and hold me with incredible strength. Your features are so beautiful, they would blind the normal eye. But not mine. You are a dream, and I want to have you over and over again. The authors then point out a list of literacy competencies that they can find in the poem, such as the use of simile and metaphor. For instance, you are like the ocean, or like the birds that cry in the morning. They give an example of an oxymoron. When you smile, I am paralyzed with life. What I noted was the easy accessibility of this poem across culture. Keisha also wrote a play in rap form, which was more cultural in its language, more like a rap or a flow. This is called Just Living. Just living on the east side, taking a chill, watching young brothers being shot and killed, coming up fast, clocking cash, niggas be having dreams, getting shot, but it can't last. But at the same time, the doing the crime, sitting behind bars without a nickel or a dime, can't come out and kick it, but I'm gonna wicked old FEMAC, and that's how I'm living. The authors comment that this sort of writing reflects Keisha's desire to make sense of and rise above the circumstances of her own life. This makes the poem less universal than Dreams, but also makes it perhaps more authentic writing. The authors report that her play has intricate plot, well-rounded characters, and complex thematic considerations. She seems to have an eye for details. The setting for the play is in Oakland, California, and her descriptions, again, according to the authors, are precise and detailed. The plot centers on a young man who is pressured into a gang. With no jobs prospects, he turns to selling drugs for a living. When rival gang members try to kill the young man, his mother, trying to protect him, gets caught in the crossfire and is killed. Keisha later told the authors that the play was based on her older brother and their mother. What I take home from this article is that the authors are showing us the authentic writing from the world of urban African American high school students, and modeling for us how such work can be analyzed for many of the classic benchmarks used in traditional school writing: similes, metaphor, plot, character development, and much more. By using authentic writing from the lives of their students, teachers can tap into material that is more motivating to their students. As Mahiri and Soblo conclude, it is erroneous to conclude that writing in and of itself was unimportant or uncool to these students. Rather, they resisted what they viewed as the unauthentic nature of many of their experiences with academic writing. Writing was important to them for a number of reasons. Two of these reasons are especially important, I think. First, because, as the authors note, it helps them to make sense or come to terms with the world they live in. And second, writing provided for them a safe haven from the unsafe and traumatic world that they live in.